So we're going to be moving into the color series and painting track. So once again, we have the schedule up for it. There's a lot of different classes in this section using different mediums, focusing primarily on oil and watercolor, but there are also pastel mediums that are being introduced as well, of soft pastels and oil pastels, and the variety teachers that are below. So oil painting beginner intermediate. So oil painting beginner intermediate is an introduction into how oil painting functions in general. They start with black and white in very limited palettes, and the core of this class wants to give you a good foundation of just what are the best practices in dealing with oil paint. How's the best way to mix it, how the best way to take care of the supplies, and eventually also does get into full color palettes and color mixing and ways of approaching this. So anybody who's never taken any kind of oil painting class, this is the first step before you go into future classes. It's a still life based class, and they produce anywhere between 3 and 4 pieces throughout the week that are meant to be very high rate of speed and education based. So, and as we go forward, you'll see abstract expressive oil painting. So abstract expressive, you would want to take the the intermediate beginner class before, so you have a good foundation of how oil painting functions. But then you can go in and start playing with very colorful and very playful elements using those. A lot of times what you'd want to do is still make sure you're in control of value, which comes from your drawing and sketch skill set. And then you have the new oil painting color mixing skill set, as well as mark making and how to mix colors. And these two things can be combined for a lot of very expressive and abstracted and decorative beautiful paintings just to kind of hang around the house. And are also really good portfolio pieces and a good way to demonstrate in portfolios an ability to think outside of the box and challenge yourself with a new way of approaching medium in general. So color series oil painting flowers is like one of the next steps after the beginner intermediate. These are difficult subject matter, but they're still life-based subject matter. So you do need to have the ability to be able to handle all the different colors and understand how oil paint mixes and functions and all that kind of stuff. But then we deal with focusing in on the topic of flowers themselves, which is a great opportunity to play with bright colors, good textures, and a lot of different elements there. It's still life and observational and technical, and also can lead to really great like portfolio pieces for supplemental and skill set pieces leading into AP production, and basically to advance oil painting skills further than the introductory class does. We have the portrait. I believe this is a portfolio level class on the oil painting. So I know that it's a more advanced class where you do have to like go through a couple of different steps of the oil painting to get there. If it is the portfolio level class, and it's generating portfolio pieces for supplemental portfolios, colleges, and things like that, as well as greatly increasing your skill set for dealing with portraiture and handling oil and color and value, and maintaining all of those skill sets and combining them into realistic portraiture. Color series tracks. So yeah, these are the college portfolio development and art contests. The portfolio one is also good for that, but the cityscape and landscape is a intensive, like all-day class. So where you will be dealing with in-depth approach on how to deal with landscapes and cityscapes. These are excellent pieces for portfolios, college portfolio, supplemental, and art contests. It's taking your perspective skills, your value skills, your painting skills, and hybriding it all into one package for some very, very strong developmental pieces and pieces to use going into portfolios into the future. Highly recommend this class for advanced oil painting students and anybody looking, when they have that skill set, looking to build portfolios in general. So soft pastel. So soft pastel is, I believe it's the chalk pastel is what it is. So that would be soft, colorful blending type pieces that lead into using them for realistic cues and textures and portraits and flowers. But color pastel, chalk pastel is also basically just like, I like to explain it as colored charcoal. I mean, it's not exactly the same. There are differences, but a lot of people that are really advanced with black and white charcoal actually can usually step into this and learn a lot of color-based things because they can function fairly similarly to each other.
Yeah, let me
it's okay.
A little bit about this, why we want to provide this class, because Chinfa Liao is my teacher. Yeah, I went back to Taiwan and I took some classes with him when I was in Taiwan. He is truly a master. And then he approached everything so fast and with like soft pastel, it was so amazed. And only by taking a couple of classes, I learned so much from him. So that is, I think that our students will definitely benefit a lot by learning different kind of like another different medium from him. Yeah, and yeah, he speaks a little bit English, not so well, but he conduct a lot of online classes. So I think I will be there with him, and then also some other teachers is going to be taking his class as well. So we can also help him to translate. But his way of doing teaching is really, really good. Yeah.
Okay.
I put all the colors together. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. So that's great to hear that. It sounds like a really great class to take, and it's a new medium. We haven't really had classes with soft pastel before. They've been available, but not for using in this way in any way. So this is definitely a new thing to take and would benefit people greatly. So if you do not have this skill set, this is definitely a class to be looking at. And I believe it's one of the evening classes happening over summer. So then we also get into watercolor. So before we've been talking about oil paint is a thick, viscous paint. Watercolor is kind of, it's the polar opposite of it. It's very watery. You can get a lot of, well, obviously it's watercolor, but it's basically a lot of really like thin, translucent effects and very soft, very wispy, but very good at a whole lineup of things, just like oil paint. But watercolor is very different than oil paint. Watercolor is, it can be hard to deal with in the beginning, but it's actually a really, really accessible paint for students. It's something that they can work on at home and as well as learn in person. But the other really beneficial thing of watercolor that I like to talk about is that it's really, really good with mixed media. It plays well with other mediums. Pen and ink, color pencil, chalk pastels, all work well with watercolor. So it ends up being a nice production medium for speed of production within AP as well as other traditional portfolios going forward. So if someone has had a lot of color experience but not a lot of watercolor experience, it's a nice kind of thing to add to your toolbox for production overall. And this is a class which will introduce the kind of the core basic intro aspects of watercolor and how to function with it. It does go in the same kind of track as oil, where we'll get into more complicated versions of the same medium, so landscape and architecture, but using watercolor to express these, and going like spending more time on individual paintings and digging deeper into the topic of how it functions for this specific thing. And you can see the results are pretty amazing, even in the examples that we have here. So introduction to Chinese painting. So I actually am not knowledgeable about it enough to speak about it, past the fact that I know I love all of it. So it's kind of like, but I know that these are within our color series track, and I think they actually teach a lot of great color theory, a lot of great value-based things that are there, and a lot of different like brush handling and how to express all these different elements.
Yeah, I will be teaching the class. Yeah, yeah, because I've been like teaching Chinese painting for over 25 years. And Chinese painting is like a very unique skill, and how to just like using one stroke with all different color and come out with all the with the subject. So I think that students, they can learn. I plan to teach a lot of basic skill with starting with the animals, and also bamboo with panda, goldfish, and even like easy landscape. So students, they will get a very like just like very easy introduction for Chinese painting in a very short period of time. Yeah.
Good. Excellent. So, and then color series track, oil pastel. So oil pastel is, I mean, in fact, has a lot in common with oil paint. It is similar mediums with less, to make it less liquidy. There's many different techniques to use oil pastel. It's a great medium for everything from realism into abstraction, and has kind of the ability to do everything in between. And so, but it is a drawing medium, so it's a dry medium instead of a liquid-based medium. It can be liquefied, but that's something I can teach at another time. So, but it's also a medium that can be used with other mediums. It tends to play fairly well with a couple of other mediums on top of it. And they'll obviously be dealing with topics of landscape, floral, and animal as they go into it. So really, really good technical pastel color medium to add to your toolbox.